It took me over 10 years to figure this out about money. And I have to say, I overcomplicated it. It's way simpler than we think. Before we get started, I just want to say there are no shortcuts to making money. If there is, it's either a scam or it's not sustainable. Disclaimer, I am not a financial advisor. I'm just a regular human being with personal experience. So everything I say comes from my perspective and my experience. So please take it all with a grain of salt. This is not financial advice. It's been a while since I've talked about money. So let's dive right in. First of all, there is no such thing as easy money, because if it was so easy, then all of us wouldn't have any money issues, right? The truth is, money and everything, developing skills to manage money and understand finances, all takes patience. And make sure to stay to the end of this video, because I will share my very simple formula to how I manage my own money. Remember, everything that you do compounds, similar to investing. If you ever invest in the stock market, you'll see, things going up and down, but when you zoom out, the graph is slowly increasing. And that is with life. When you invest in yourself and the skills and the knowledge that you gain, it slowly compounds. Even though you don't feel it right now, you'll understand later on how everything in your life connects and how all the little things you've done have really made a difference. People are always struggling with finding ways to make more money. We have to put in the time. For example, I want to try to make more money. Let's try to sell some of the stuff that I have at home. If we can't even spend the 20-30 minutes learning how to do that, then how are we going to learn any of the other skills that are required to make money? If you learn the formula to wealth and the formula to managing money, if you lose it all, you'll know how to do it again. So it is worth it to spend the time to learn, even in ways that don't seem relevant right now. You didn't think selling that item on Facebook Marketplace was anything, but it is a skill. You gotta take the photo so that it stands out. You gotta put a description. You gotta talk to the person. You gotta sometimes negotiate. Something as simple as selling on Facebook Marketplace or selling anywhere is a little skill that you're developing that's going to compound over time and could become something bigger than you'll ever realize. I always wish I would have invested early. I would have done anything earlier. Let me tell you, the best time to start is now. Today is the youngest you'll ever be. If you know me, I am very purpose-driven. Money wasn't always the first thing that was on my mind. It was always the last thing that was on my mind. But I put in the effort to really learn and understand, because I know that money is a tool. Money is a language. If I don't understand how to manage it, then how can I manage anything else? I'm not very money-driven overall, but it's something that is a tool for me to have an intentional life, to have the freedom that I want in my future. Now, money is difficult because there's that balance, right? If you really want to have a high-paying job, you gotta do things that no one else is willing to do. Jobs that everyone wants to do, it's going to pay less, because think about it. There's an employer, 1,000 people are applying. Now they have leverage. The employer can choose whoever they want, and they could choose the person that is demanding the least amount of income from that, versus a job that no one wants to do and there are only 3 applicants for it. It's usually going to pay more. So for me, it's a little bit different. I have to find that balance of finding meaningful work, because I care about that, but also finding ways to build wealth, save, and create a life that's intentional and that provides me with flexibility and freedom. Another example is musicians. There are a lot of people who are hobbyist musicians, but because there are so many hobbyists, it makes it really difficult for people who are doing it for a living, because all these people are doing it for free, for exposure, which doesn't really help. I do think if you are so passionate and you really work on your skills and you become that top 5% of whatever industry you're in, you're going to be able to make good money. So it's going to be the time you spent and the skills you develop and the connections you make in those years that will compound. But you gotta be really passionate about that thing. Otherwise, will you even last 10, 15 years in that industry? The biggest opportunities are usually where no one is looking. I'll give you an example. My sister ended up networking and finding a position in the regular affairs consultant industry under medical devices. And this is not something you really study. You just kind of end up in the job. Because there wasn't many people, but it's a highly needed position, she was able to become an expert in the field and make really good money. If you haven't read the book, The Third Door, I highly recommend it, but it's basically going through another door that no one has ever thought of. Instead of going on LinkedIn, instead of going on Indeed, which is what everyone does, what's a creative way for you to approach looking for a job or finding opportunities in a different light? I've also learned that if you can't manage your money when you're making a small amount of money, you'll also have a really difficult time managing money when you make a lot of money. If you can't manage $100, you're probably not going to be able to know what to do with $100,000, because money doesn't fix poor money habits. The thing that I notice a lot is, even in myself, I have to catch myself in moments, is lifestyle creep. So as you make more money, you start spending more money. And so there are people who make a lot of money but are still living paycheck to paycheck because they haven't figured out a way to manage their money and to not let lifestyle creep get to them. Lifestyle creep is basically when you make more money, you also spend more money, so you never actually save more money even though you made more money. We all wish that we invested earlier. It's hard to understand investing until you dip your toes in it. You gotta just go in and take action. It's not something I would do too much research on. I would actually recommend buying maybe a company or stock of a company that you like. For example, maybe if you like Apple, let's just spend, $100 on Apple. And if you're Canadian, I highly recommend Wealthsimple as a beginner investment platform. Their app is really user-friendly. You can buy fractional shares, which means if one share of a company costs $300, you can spend $100 or whatever you're comfortable with, which is amazing for any beginner, because when you start, you just want to try it out, right? Some banks do have practice investment accounts, so they'll let you practice and not actually use real money, and then you can see how that goes in the next 3 months if you want to do that instead. For example, I know RBC, Royal Bank of Canada, has a practice self-directed investment account. But I would just recommend you spend $10, $20 on Wealthsimple. And I think I probably have a referral code where you get a free stock or something along those lines. I'll put the referral code on the description below, but just buy something to go through that process and then start doing research and learning more about it. Because investing shouldn't be complicated. It should be boring at the end of the day, but there are some concepts that are important, and everyone's goals are different in every stage of life. So if you want me to do a video on investing, let me know. I don't know how many of you are interested in these topics, but I would be happy to share more. Another lesson I wish I knew earlier when it comes to money and career is thinking about the lifestyle that I want in the future and then working back to see career options. Because I didn't really think about that, and I don't think everyone thinks about that, but it's important to think about what kind of lifestyle you actually want in the future, because certain industries will not support that lifestyle. For example, if you're really passionate about being a doctor, but you want, to be able to work from home and be remote and travel and all this stuff, like it's going to be more difficult for you to find that balance in that career. Another thing I realized is your mindset is everything. The way you currently live and the way you currently think is going to be a mixture of all the things you've watched, who you're surrounded by, your upbringing, and all these things. So I think this is probably the biggest barrier, because a lot of us have these financial caps on how much we think we could make or what kind of job we can be in, but we really need to break that barrier and reflect on our limiting beliefs around money and our current relationship with money. Where do your money thoughts come from? Is it from your parents? Is it from your friend? It's really important to think about where your money beliefs come from. And are they still serving you? Because I think for us to get past certain financial success or financial barriers, we need to evolve eternally in having different mindsets on how we think about money. They do say that you end up making the average income of your closest 5 people in your life. I don't know if that's true, but if you want to make more money, I can see why surrounding yourself with people who make more money from you can help you think about money differently. Because if you're surrounded by people who are struggling with money, you'll probably continue struggling with money. I do have to acknowledge that everyone comes from a different place. There is family wealth that gets passed on. There's all these other dynamics of money. And I would love for investing financial knowledge to be more accessible. And I think because of YouTube and other things like that, it has been more accessible. Like, I don't know what I would do without YouTube. YouTube has been my #1 source of education for many, many, many years. I've learned so many skills through YouTube, which is why I'm on this platform, because I love YouTube. But if you surround yourself with people who are problem solvers instead of people saying, oh, I can't afford that. No, I can't do that. There's no way I could make that much money. And if you're surrounded by people who are problem solvers, who think like, how can I make this happen? That might change your set of beliefs if you're surrounded by people who are very hopeful. And let's not blame the people we're surrounded by. We're all trying our best and we all come from different backgrounds. So my first strategy would really to look deeply within yourself and to reflect and journal on your current money beliefs. Another thing you'll start to realize as you get older is the idea of enough. When will we have enough money? And when will we feel like we have enough? Because from my experience and also from those around me, I notice that even when people make more money and they make significantly more money, they still feel like they don't have enough money. We're always chasing for more. It's so easy to buy something, the next iPhone, the next car, the next house. And after that, we got all these other expenses. Okay, now I need to build wealth, I need to invest, right? If you think about it, it's an ongoing thing. And marketing is insane. The level of marketing these days makes you feel like you need the item. So I try to avoid as much advertisements as possible because they use psychology to really entice us. And it's really hard when you see this item that was created it felt like it was created just for you and you just want to buy it. Which is why it's really important to understand our values, our purpose, and how we want to use our money, because there's so many things that we can spend it on. So we need to really prioritize what's most important to us and what are things that we don't need to spend on. Another tip about money that I realized is the importance of being organized. The more organized you are with your money, the more you will save in the long run. Because when you are disorganized, you're going to forget about the subscriptions you signed up for and when they were due, so you don't cancel them and so you continue paying subscriptions. 2, you overspend because you're not tracking your expenses. 3, you end up buying a bunch of things last minute because you didn't plan ahead, so now you're actually spending twice the amount you would have if you had just planned ahead. As I'm in my 30s, I really start to focus more on functionality, the importance of function. I don't try to make the most aesthetic thing anymore. It's more about what's actually gonna work. So let's keep it simple. So even when I'm tracking my expenses, if the app is too much effort or anything, I'm just gonna try to make it the easiest for me to start. When I first started tracking my expenses, I literally was using Apple Notes. I would just type it in every time I spent for the first month. And that was the easiest way for me to start. Every time I would just type it in. I didn't use any apps. Now I'm using an app called Buddy. It's a free app and it's a very simple app. I don't pay for the paid version. I just keep track of my variable expenses. Finances can feel overwhelming, but start with the easiest thing for you to get started. We need to keep money simple. I think we overcomplicate money, and then as a result of overcomplicating it, we never get started in learning about it. We gotta start simple. And here are my 3 simple steps for you when it comes to money management. Step number 1, learn where your money is going. What are your current expenses? 2, after you've learned where your money is going, figure out if you have any savings. If you have savings, make sure to save with purpose. Saving for a reason. Are you saving for an emergency fund? Are you saving for a vacation? Are you saving for a down payment? Obviously, it could be more than one, but making sure your extra money has a purpose. So once you've mastered tracking, and then you've mastered how to save with purpose, number 3 is continuing to build wealth by working on yourself and your skills. Another realization I have is time is more valuable than money. I think we've all heard of this quote, which is time is the only currency you can't get back. You can always make more money, but you can't make more time. I like to really ask myself, 40 years from now, 50 years from now, if I were to think back to my current life, how would I have wanted to spend my time? In what way? So if you want, I encourage you to write like a circle, and the circle represents the time you spent in a week, in a month, in a day of your life. And draw a circle of what your time, how you're currently spending your time. And then draw another circle of how you would actually want to spend your time. And then try to shift towards the new circle of how you want to spend your time. And a lot of times this is the things you value. Another really important lesson that I want to share is never take shortcuts. Shortcuts cost more in the long run. Nothing rushed is ever worth it. Shortcuts often lead to bad investments, more wasted time, and a lot of missed opportunities. Remember, success isn't about how fast you get there. It's about how long you can sustain it. Like weight management. Losing weight is one thing, but maintaining weight loss requires effort. It's not easy. Similar to money. You can get a lot of money, but you can also lose a lot of money if you don't learn how to maintain your wealth. If I were to go back 10 years and tell myself something about money, it would be to try investing $100, something that you're willing to lose, just so that you can get your toes dirty in it and learn about investing. Because sometimes for us to build interest and curiosity in something, we gotta just put ourselves in the experience. I'm so curious to know, what's your biggest money lesson that you've learned along the way? Feel free to throw that in the comments below. If you like this video, let me know, and I will try to make more content like this in the future. Let's build wealth intentionally and in small steps. If you like this video, you'll definitely like my video on how I saved 100K in 4 years with tons and tons of really good specific tips right over here, somewhere here. That's it for today. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll catch you in the next video. Bye!